President Barack Obama has submitted his budget for the fiscal year 2016 to a Republican-controlled Congress. The most controversial part of the nearly $4 trillion package calls for tax increases on business and the wealthy.
Let's get it done.
Those increases, he said, would pay for infrastructure improvements and fund programs to help the middle class. How does Congress deal with the president's budget request? Think of it as a pie, a really big pie sent to Congress by the president. The first thing Congress does is debate whether they like the size of the president's $4 trillion pie. Do they think it's too big? Did the president cook in too many tax increases for their liking? The Senate and House budget committees at this point are supposed to decide on their own recipe in the form of a budget resolution. They've got big decisions to make. A bigger pie means borrowing more ingredients in the form of debt or collecting more tax revenue. Congress needs to get all this done by mid-April. The last few years, however, Congress hasn't been able to agree on a budget resolution, so instead it's laid out budget targets that outline how much the government can spend in the next year. But Congress's work has still just begun. What happens next? The House and Senate Appropriations Committees have the job of deciding how to slice up the pie, meaning how much money different parts of the government will get to spend next year. But the appropriations process doesn't touch large parts of the pie. Which parts? The parts of the budget that don't require congressional approval to continue. Programs like Medicare, Social Security, and interest on the national debt. What's left is discretionary spending. This is used to pay for pretty much every other function of government, from the military to student loans to national parks. 12 appropriations subcommittees in both the House and Senate decide how big of a bite individual programs get. The appropriations bills must be passed by both the House and Senate and signed by the President by October 1st, the start of the new fiscal year. Or what happens? Congress has to pass a continuing resolution which doles out parts of the pie that are needed right away to a cash-starved government to avoid it shutting down. So, does the president's budget really matter? It does to the degree that it tells Congress what his priorities are and carries the implicit threat that if Congress slices the pie too differently from his instructions, he'll use his veto pen and send everyone back to the kitchen. That's the short answer.